In a flood, you would think that the heavier, flatter bones like the femur would have been left behind, and the lighter, rounder bones like the skull would have been washed away. But if you accept this story, the exact opposite happened.
How did you come into possession of the skull?
Well, a friend who got it from a friend who was the original owner of it gave it to me due to my expertise in neonatal nursing and anatomy. When I saw it and told them that this is totally out of this world, they were like, take it, don't bring it back.
This is obviously extremely bizarre. Is it possible this is some kind of deformity?
I've never seen anything like it.
How many deformities have you seen, have you witnessed as a nurse?
I've seen every kind of deformity you can think of, and nothing looks like that.
Some people who've looked at the Star Child skull believe that it's a human skull of someone that suffered from hydrocephalia, which is a disease that affects some infants, which causes a misshapen skull.
If it were hydrocephalic, this would be bulged out, okay? But only one side would be bulged out, or the back would be bulged. It wouldn't be symmetrical like that is.
So a hydrocephalic skull is asymmetrical.
It's asymmetrical.
And this skull is symmetrical.
It's completely symmetrical. If that were a hydrocephalic, the bones would not be connected. There would be no skull.
What other explanation do you have for this skull?
I don't have one. I can't find one.
Now, a lot of people might challenge this story, but we've come this far. I think we all agree that we have to explore the possibility that this could be the skull of a gray.
Well, guys, I mean, obviously this thing looks different from a human skull. It's big and bulbous and fits the description of what some people say alien grays look like. I'd like to get some more information on it.
Well, Lloyd Pye is our lead researcher, and he's done a lot of work with hominids. He has so much knowledge on different species and how the humans have evolved. He is the guy to talk to.
What significance is a skull to a UFO research?
The Star Child can provide proof that is undeniable, the holy grail of the field of UFO alien research.
Now, it's possible the Star Child skull is just that.
We're here today with Lloyd Pye, who has worked as a military intelligence specialist. He has more than 30 years studying cryptozoology. He's the primary expert on the Star Child skull, having researched it for more than a decade.
Why all this interest in it?
I believe that it stands a very good chance of being the smoking gun that everybody's looking for, the holy grail of the field of UFO alien research.
What I want to hear first is not only what do the specialists and the medical doctors think, but what kind of tests have been done and what exactly were the results.
Could you walk us through the main differences between the Star Child skull and a normal human skull?
The eye sockets of a normal human are about 2 inches. Star Child's not even 1. There are no sinuses in here, no upper sinuses at all. And you turn them around, you notice that the chewing muscles that come up through here and spread out to attach your jaw and chew cover quite a wide area here. With the Star Child, it's much reduced, so we have a much smaller, much reduced lower face. And there are fibers woven through the matrix of the bone, which were found under a scanning electron microscope.
Does this skull have any fibers at all?
No skull of any kind of primate that we know of, or any really bone that we know of, has those kind of fibers. They seem to be unique to the Star Child.
Although I haven't seen a gray myself, I mean, everyone kind of knows what they're supposed to look like. A large head, wraparound eyes, a small mouth, and it seems like this skull would sort of fit in with that description.
If you turn around and look on the inside, and you feel in here, you feel that ridging of bone that will hold the cerebellum in place. With the Star Child, because it has such expanded brain pressing down that way at such a steep angle, we should have a spreading of the foramen magnum, but we don't. So we have a very different kind of brain in this skull, whatever it is. Now, if you stick your finger in the foramen magnum hole to simulate a neck, right? You see how the human is there, so it'd be like this, but the Star Child's actually balanced like this. So it's kind of like a misshapen golf ball on a tee. It's very different from the human neck in that it's half the size and it's centered up under the head.
When you see how the neck connects to the skull, that's a closure for me. It's not a deformity. It was built that way.
We've had the DNA of the human tested fully recovered, no problem, normal human being. But in 203 we found that the DNA of the star child was very different. While we could recover its mitochondrial DNA, which comes from its mother, the nuclear DNA, which contains the DNA of its mother and its father, we could not recover that, which indicates that there's something very unusual, if not completely different, about the father.
Where is the mitochondrial DNA from?
In all of our cells, we have cytoplasm. Floating inside the cytoplasm are little chips. Imagine them as raisins floating in a soup. Those little mitochondria come down from your mother.
Is this the mother of the skull? Is that what we're saying?
We have been able to prove that is not the case for sure. They are not genetically related.
In the case of the star child skull, mitochondrial DNA has proven that the mother is human. However, nuclear DNA, it should have proven that the father was human as well, but it didn't. It was inconclusive. What this means is that the mother is human, but the father is simply unknown. To your knowledge, is there any reason why the nuclear DNA was not recoverable other than the fact that it's not the human father?
If the father had been human, all indications are it should have pulled up very easily with the primers that were used, but it didn't, so we can only conclude that there's something very unusual about the father.
Guys, I think one of the problems to getting answers to this skull is that it's obviously incomplete. I mean, a large portion of it is missing. The entire maxilla and facial structure is gone. I'd like to know if you would mind if we took this to Los Angeles and have a specialist reconstruct this so that we could see what this person or creature looked like when it was alive.
I would be as anxious to see what it would look like as you.
Child skull had a cranium which looks like it had a much larger capacity for a brain. And this matches up with the alien that crashed at Roswell, which showed a multiple lobed brain. Now these are reproductions, of course, and the reproductions were done by computer, so these are exact.
They are identical. We have a normal and an abnormal skull. We need to check the differences between the two by measuring the volume of the brain capacities. We know that a normal brain is 1,350 to 1,400 cubic centimeters. There's a scientific test to measure brain capacity, and that's simply to fill it up with birdseed. And that's what we're about to do.
Just pour some in here.
Pour some in. All right, that's enough for now.
Here's Pat pouring and pouring and pouring.
It's still going. The bottomless skull here.
And he's not stopping. He's keeping on going. Okay, gents, empty your skulls.
1,250 milliliters. That's a lot of birdseed. I don't think there's more birdseed in that skull.
I don't think you can come to a conclusion until you've finished the experiment, right? That's real science, isn't it?
Very true.
Mr. Science Guy. Okay.
So that's 1,000?
That's 1,000.
Just about.
And then the rest is all gravy. Visually from the outside, the normal human skull actually appears larger. So it's strange that the Star Child skull would be getting so much birdseed in it.
It's more.
Holy mackerel.
There are exactly 200 milliliters more in the Star Child skull.
Now this is a huge difference. We're talking about 15% more brain capacity here, which could completely bulge out a normal skull. With all that said, I'm still not convinced that this is alien.
Why is this more brain material? There are a number of explanations for it. Not that this is an accident of nature, or not that this is a brain deformity, but this was a designed skull, and that brain has more functionality than the accompanying adult skull. This skull exactly conforms to the Walter Reed Army Hospital autopsy on the little gray that they retrieved from the crash at Roswell. Now the difference is that this might have had 3 lobes because it has human DNA, but the Army autopsy basically confirmed this.